in a very beautiful African village, at the heart of the prosperous kingdom of Abyssa. Lulled by the songs of griots and protected by the spirits of the ancestors, ruled King Hendrix. He was a just and wise man, respected by all. Yet, a shadow loomed over his reign. The supreme oracle, Abamafu, an old man whose eyes had pierced the veils of 1,000 futures, had come to announce a terrifying prophecy to him. Hear me, King Hendrix, and may your ears remain open to the truth. The moon shall split in the sky, heralding the coming of twins. Their blood will be neither fully blessed, nor entirely cursed, but it will be chosen. It will carry within it the seed of the apocalypse and the germ of redemption. One will embody the end, the other the beginning. Their destiny will seal that of Abyssa. Either the kingdom will be engulfed in a deluge of blood, or it will be reborn, purified, more radiant than ever. Beware of those who would seek to control this power, for the blood of the twins is a fire that consumes whoever lights it. Deeply concerned for his people, King Hendrix, a foresighted sovereign, ordered his nobles to spread the news. Abamuf's prophecy spread like wildfire, sowing fear and suspicion throughout the kingdom. While some remained indifferent, many were frightened, to the point that some women feared giving birth to twins. At the foot of the sacred mountains lived Achilles, the king's most formidable warrior. It was said of him that he could shatter rocks with nothing but the power of his feet. It was by his hands that the kingdom had won its greatest victories. But rumors also circulated. Some whispered that he had made a pact with a demon to explain his incomprehensible strength. Achilles was feared for his mysterious nature and his supposed lack of remorse. Yet, everyone respected him, including King Hendrix. Against all expectations, Achilles married a woman of great beauty and courage named Vivienne. She was a potter with golden fingers, renowned for shaping objects from golden clay of a splendor and complexity impossible for anyone else to reproduce. Some, jealous of her talent, called her the Earth Witch, insinuating that she too, like her husband, had made a dark pact. A few months after their marriage, Vivienne became pregnant. Immense joy seized the couple and the entire village. Achilles dreamed of a powerful son who would succeed him. King Hendrix organized a banquet in the warrior's honor. Only the oracle Abamafu felt a disturbance. For the first time, such an important event was announced to him without him having had the slightest prior vision. He ignored this intuition and celebrated with the others. 8.5 months later, on a night where 2 moons, one silver and one coppery, appeared side by side in the sky, the pains of childbirth seized Vivienne. A storm was raging outside. Seeing the double celestial body, Achilles realized with horror that his wife was about to give birth to twins, the heralding sign of the prophecy. He fell to his knees, praying it was just a coincidence. It was in this chaos that the twin girls were born. The first came into the world with her fists clenched, a lightning bolt streaking across the sky at the moment of her first cry. The second arrived in a leaden silence, her large eyes wide open as if she were already contemplating the mysteries of the universe. The instant she let out her first cry, the strange phenomena ceased, the storm subsided and the 2 moons disappeared, giving way to a starry sky of perfect serenity. The midwife announced to Achilles the birth of 2 daughters. The warrior, tears in his eyes, took them in his arms and declared, "It doesn't matter that they are girls. I am proud." He named them Cendrine, for the firstborn who arrived with the ashes of the storm, and Cendra, for the younger one born with the cold ash of the regained silence. But primal fear took over. Achilles, determined to protect his family, escorted the midwife back. As they crossed the forest that separated his house from the village, he killed her and secretly buried her. No one could know there were 2 of them, born on the day of the prophecy, and no one could have witnessed his weakness, him, the man of stone, crying. Back home, he explained the situation to Vivienne. Together, they made a decision heavy with consequences, to protect their children and the kingdom. They would hide Cendrine, the one who seemed linked to the destruction, and present to the world only Cendra, the one who attracted light and serenity. That same night, the kingdom's greatest warrior and his wife committed their first great sin, driven by parental love. The next day, Achilles proudly announced the birth of his daughter to the village. The villagers, a little disappointed not to have a future warrior, put on a brave face. The oracle Abamafu, present by chance, asked to examine the child. Achilles' heart froze, but he handed Cendra to him. As he examined the baby, the old man's face became still. He whispered to Achilles, "This child has a pure heart. Protect her. Her blood is unique. It attracts the light." He noticed nothing else, not even the identical birthmark that each twin bore on her right wrist, A stylized drop of blood crossed by a split moon. Relieved, Achille reported to Vivian that the oracle had not uncovered any secret. He was aware that Sandrine attracted darkness, and Sandra the light. Thus, Sandra and Sandrine grew up in a state of permanent ambivalence, far from all suspicion and the gaze of the village, each unaware of the destiny that weighed upon her sister. A few years later, Sandra and her twin sister had grown up. They were both 20 years old. Sandra, the benevolent twin, was very kind and very beautiful, with green hair. She greatly valued honor and was very intelligent. But because of the preferential treatment she received from everyone, she had become arrogant and looked down upon the lower-class people of the village. As the family's favorite, she was capricious. She often smiled, but her smile often hid bad intentions. She could smile while thinking of very cruel things. Being the daughter of the great Achille, the undefeated, she was highly respected in the village and took advantage of it to trample on the honor of others. Despite her arrogance, Sandra knew how to recognize and respect people she esteemed. She treated everyone well, except the poor. As for her twin sister, the one with evil gifts, her existence was a secret to everyone, even to Sandra. Sandrine was of incomparable beauty, with very long green hair. Her father had never seen her because he rejected her, considering her cursed. Sandrine possessed an evil gift and a threatening, mystical aura. She had been raised in secret by her mother, Vivian, who was the only person brave enough to stay with her. Sandrine showed no emotion. She had never laughed or cried in 19 years. Her mother, who had raised her in the mountains, was utterly astonished by this. Sandrine had inherited her father Achilles' strength and power. She could have been the pride of everyone, but she was cursed. Achilles was unaware that Sandrine was just as strong as he was. Sandrine was aware of everything that was happening, but she did not want to disappoint her mother's love. Possessing an incomprehensible beauty, every time her mother visited the hidden estate, where she had spent her entire childhood alone, the latter would break down in tears. Meanwhile, in the village, Sandra enjoyed life. Neither she, nor King Hendrix, nor the Oracle Abamafu, nor the villagers knew that the curse was already there, and that the prophecy was unfolding behind their backs. No one was prepared for it. With time, the Oracle Abamafu was blamed for talking nonsense about the curse. He himself began to doubt his dreams and visions. A few days later, the absence of the midwife, murdered by Sandra's father in the forest, began to be noticed. People started looking for her. According to reports, it was her habit to leave the village without telling anyone. The matter reached the royal palace. The generals were summoned, and even Achille was present. King Hendrix, seated, expressed his concerns. Achille, very determined, assured the king that he would lead the investigation. Meanwhile, the evil twin, Sandrine, was communicating with a strange eagle. Her mother, Vivian, arrived and caught her by surprise. Astonished, her mother asked her, "Why have you never said anything since you were born?" Sandrine, her face impassive, remained silent for a moment before answering, "Mother, I respect you, but I find animals more loyal and kinder than human beings. I prefer talking to them than to you. Since I was 8 years old, I have always wondered why my father never showed himself, and why I had to live apart from people while my twin sister, Sandra, enjoys life in the village. Mother, I will tell you a secret that no one knows and that father is hiding from you. In truth, I am not the one who will destroy this village, but the one who will save it. If I remain seated here, calm, it is because I know what will happen in a few years. I watch over you from above, and it moves me to tears. Listen, mother, flee this village with my sister Sandra, for very soon everything will disappear. All because of 2 people, father and King Hendrix. Mother, you see this eagle I was speaking with? It was the spirit of the wind. It told me of the apocalypse." Her mother, Vivian, after listening to her, began to laugh and said, "My daughter, I wish your father Achille were here with me. He would see how much you resemble him. I know you are joking." Sandrine displayed a small smile and said, "Mother, I feel no emotion, but I have a feeling that your death will affect me, for you are the only person who has been by my side." Meanwhile, Sandrine, fiery and impulsive, was developing supernatural strength and agility. She could communicate with eagles, smell the scent of anger, and possessed deep empathy. She healed animals' wounds with a simple touch, and understood the language of the trees and the wind. A few days later, a chieftain from a neighboring village, power-hungry and perverse, attempted to kidnap Sandra to exploit her beauty. Just as he seized her by force, the ground cracked. A black, thorny vine erupted, coiled around the man, and literally devoured him, leaving behind only a pile of ashes. Sindra, frightened and astonished, did not understand what had happened. For the first time in her life, she felt true fear. She began to run with all her might to warn her father, crying, "Papa," through the village, without even wearing shoes. Meanwhile, in her secret place, the other twin, Sandrine, smiled and said, "Little sister, I will not let you die before that day." In reality, Sandrine, with her extraordinary power, had saved her sister from afar. For his part, Achille was terrified when Sandra told him what she had seen. Achille and Vivienne endured in agony, torn between their love for their daughter Sandra and their fear of the other twin, Sandrine. He comforted his daughter. That same night, for the first time, Achille went to the place where he had hidden the evil twin. But what he found was incredible. He who expected to find a monster instead found a very beautiful girl, radiating the same powerful aura as himself. He sensed the powers his daughter possessed, and said, "Oh, Sandrine, you would have been the pride, the heir I have sought for so long. But you are cursed." Sandrine smiled and said, "Father, or should I say, Sir Achille, the maker of demonic pacts." Enraged, Achille left the place. Prince Canty, the only son of King Hendrix, was a noble and courageous young man. While hunting in the forest, he discovered Sandrine being attacked by hyenas. But, being immensely powerful, she subdued them. Unaware of her identity, he was captivated by her grace and wisdom. Sandrine was surprised, as it was the first time she had met anyone. Prince Canty, for his part, initially thought she was Sandra, but upon speaking with her, he discovered her name was Sandrine. Being intelligent, the prince realized that Sandra and Sandrine were twins, and the children of Achille. He quickly deduced that Achille had lied to everyone. A secret romance blossomed between them. Upon his return, the prince couldn't help but tell his father everything. When King Hendrix learned of this, his fury was terrible. Fear overriding reason, he saw this union as a threat to his throne. Influenced by his own oracle, Abamifta, an ambitious man jealous of Abamif's power, the king decided to act. Abamifta, interpreting the prophecy in his own way, convinced the king that to control the twins' power, they must sacrifice the weaker one, Sandra, and use her blood to forge an invincible army. King Hendrix ordered Sandra's arrest. The guards were afraid, as she was the daughter of the strongest man in the village. But under pressure from the king, they obeyed. Achille and Vivienne tried to defend her. Achille, though strong and powerful, fell under the arrows of the king's guards. Vivienne, taken by force, took her own life in front of her husband's corpse. Before dying, she said, "My daughter Sandrine, tell me, what will happen now if your father and I die? I do not want to be used against my daughters." Sandra, traumatized by witnessing her parents' death before her eyes, managed to flee into the forest towards their home. She plunged deep into the woods, pursued by the royal guards. In the village, everyone was astonished that the strongest man had been killed so easily. People began to doubt Achilles' strength, now that he was dead. A royal guard reported to King Hendrix, and informed him of the deaths of Achille and his wife. The king could not believe it. The guard told him that Achille had sacrificed his life to save his daughter Sandra. The king, highly ambitious, mocked this and sent his son, and half his army into the forest. He was unaware that within this forest resided a secret being, devoid of any feeling, just like Achille. Meanwhile, news spread through the village. Achille and his wife Vivienne had been executed for treason. They had had twins and had lied. Everyone was terrified. The oracle Abamifu no longer knew what to do. He had to meet the other twin as soon as possible to see if she was truly cursed. Using his power, he discovered that fate intended to reunite the two halves of the prophecy. Thus, he decided in secret to go into the forest, following the same direction as Sandra. But meanwhile, in the forest, strange things were happening. Sandra, as she ventured deeper into the woods, came across her twin sister, whom she had never seen. Surprised, she noticed they looked very much alike. Sandra was initially frightened. Sandrine then said to her, "Little twin sister, how are you? It's been a long time." She saved her and took her to her hiding place. Sitting together, Sandrine told her everything. Meanwhile, Sandra's pursuers were being devoured by giant wolves that weren't supposed to exist. Hidden behind a tree, the oracle Abamifu witnessed the horror, his face horrified, until all the soldiers were devoured. After the wolves left, the oracle Abamifu, determined, continued on his way. After 6 hours of walking, he arrived before the two sisters. Two identical faces, but a difference in emotions. Sandra appeared very emotional, while Sandrine felt nothing. She was cold. The oracle Abamafu, risking his life, told them, "Listen to me, children of destiny. Your blood is not evil. It is ancient. It contains the essence of the first spirits, of the great balance between creation and destruction. Abamifta and the king want to corrupt it, to use it for domination. But this will only lead to the promised apocalypse. You must flee. Sandra, you must learn to control your anger, for it is the key to your power. Sandrine, you must learn to love, for your love is the only antidote to corruption." 4 years, the kingdom of Abyssal lived in lies and decadence. King Hendrix, aged and consumed by paranoia, ruled through terror. Advised by the ambitious Abamifta, the true oracle, Abamafu, languished in a dungeon, his vision clouded from no longer seeing the sky. The prophecy had become a nightmare whose name no one dared speak. Meanwhile, at the two ends of the cursed kingdom, the forces of destiny were reaching maturity. In the howling steppes, Sandra had embraced her destructive nature. Her beauty had hardened, becoming as sharp as obsidian. Her army of the wretched and corrupted beasts grew, thirsting for revenge. She dreamed of only one thing, seeing the palace of Abyssa reduced to dust and King Hendrix dying at her feet. The sweet young girl had been swallowed by anger, leaving room only for the twin of the apocalypse. In the whispering forest, Sandrine had attained a terrible serenity. Nature had taught her everything, the patience of trees, the coldness of stones, the subterranean power of roots. She still felt no human emotion, but she understood the cycles. Destruction was but a necessary passage. She knew the hour had come. The balance had been broken, and only a cataclysm could restore it. Their blood bond, long suppressed, became a bridge. One evening when the two moons, silver and copper, brushed against each other again in the sky, their spirits united. Without a word, they knew. The assault was launched at dawn. Sandra's army, howling and demonic, poured from the arid lands, sweeping away the king's weak defenses. The earth split open beneath their feet, swallowing soldiers. The corrupted beasts sowed terror, but the true force came from the west. Sandrine walked, alone and impassive. At her approach, the forest itself moved. Trees tore up their roots to crush the ramparts. Vines became giant snakes, and the wind, her ally, carried volleys of arrows made from sharpened branches. She expressed neither anger nor hatred. She was a force of nature, as inexorable as death. Prince Canty, his heart torn between his duty and the love he secretly held for Sandrine, tried to reason with her amidst the chaos. "Sandrine, stop this. We can rebuild." She looked at him, her gaze empty and deep as the abyss. "Rebuild on rotten foundations," she said in a voice that was no longer quite human. "No. The time has come for the great cleansing." King Hendrix and Abamifta, terrified, took refuge in the throne room. In a final act of desperation, Abamifta slit the king's throat, thinking his sacrificial blood could activate a protective spell. It was in vain. The two sisters found each other in the heart of the ruined palace. For the first time, they stood face to face, no longer as strangers, but as two halves of a single whole. "Sister," said Sandra, a cruel smile on her lips, "look at our inheritance. It is almost destroyed." Sandrine nodded slowly. "Almost. There is one final step." It was then that the oracle Abamafu, freed by the collapse, emerged, weak and emaciated. His eyes suddenly regained their prophetic gleam. "You have done it," he murmured, his gaze moving from one to the other. "Destruction and the beginning. But the evil blood was not yours, my children. It was the blood of the fear, betrayal, and ambition that corrupted this kingdom. For a new world to be born, the old one must be utterly purified. The ocean itself will come to wash away this stain. Flee." The roar began, so deep it seemed to come from the very bowels of the earth. The ground began to roll like a shaken hide. The last structures collapsed. Offshore, a mass of dark water, taller than the highest mountains, rose on the horizon. The tsunami, foretold for generations, was arriving. Sandra watched the wall of water approach, and for the first time since her parents' death, the rage within her gave way to a primal terror. Her power over the earth was useless against this onslaught from the sea. Sandrine, however, remained motionless. She reached out her hand to her sister. "Our destiny is not to die here," said Sandrine, "but to bear witness." As she spoke these words, the old Abamifo, exhausted, lay down on the ground, a peaceful smile on his lips. His mission was accomplished. He closed his eyes, joining the spirits of the ancestors. The wave crashed down upon Abyssa with the fury of a vengeful god. It swept away the ruins, the corpses, the memories and the sins. It swallowed the palace, the forest, the steppes. The entire kingdom was submerged by the tumultuous waters, wiped from the map in minutes. Only 3 beings survived, miraculously carried by the currents to the summit of the highest hill. Now an island lost in the midst of a raging ocean. They were the Oracle Abamafu, whose lifeless body had been laid there by the waves like an offering, and the 2 twins, Sendra and Sendrine, soaked and trembling, gazed at the endless expanse of water that covered everything they had known. Their powers had been extinguished, leaving behind a bare and brutal reality. Dusk fell over the drowned world. There was no more kingdom, no more king, no more prophecy, only the returned silence, the fading roar, and the unbearable weight of a future to be written upon the ruins of the past. The destruction had taken place. The beginning, more uncertain and more tragic than ever, had just been born in the gaze of 2 sisters, alone in the world, with only the silent corpse of the one who had seen it all as their companion. And this ending is but a beginning. The story of the 2 sisters, survivors of an annihilated world, could one day rise from its ashes, or from its waves. Did the Oracle Abamafu truly foresee everything? Is the destiny of Sendra and Sendrine truly sealed? Only the future will tell.